in the country, us, Stanford, and Northwestern, I believe it is, that require the student athletes to be admitted before we can send them a national letter of intent. That used to be the case at USC, but Pete Carroll was able to get that changed. So we have very high standards here, and the people here believe in Stephon, and we believe that when we surround him with the support that we offer, and knowing how motivated he is as a young man, and how intelligent he is, that he's going to thrive in this environment. I'll be very surprised if he doesn't thrive in this environment.
What's the part of this? You've said to us many times about how much you love college athletics compared to the pros. You don't get this element in the pros and going into homes. Is it a relief? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Where's your heart with this whole system?
It depends at what time of what day you ask me. You know, I do love the home visits. I enjoy building the relationships with these people. You know, typically our relationships with most of these people start when they're sophomores or juniors in high school. And so we get to know them and their families very, very well. And that's a lot of fun. What's not fun is when you've built a relationship with a young man and his family and they decide to go elsewhere for whatever reason. That makes it tough. But it's exciting, you know, and it's exciting to see where they started and then where they are when they leave UCLA. And as we know, we've had tremendous success with these guys going on and having successful careers in the NFL. And the ones that haven't had a chance to play in the NFL have had success in whatever endeavor that they, pursued. So for me, it's very, very rewarding.
It's also a day where you'll look back and say, boy, we missed it on that kid. He's better than we thought, or he wasn't as high. How long does that process usually take?
Here's what's interesting is that we don't look at rankings other than just to get a general idea of how people around the country view our players. We trust our eyes. We have over 80 years of evaluating and playing experience at the highest level, the NFL level. And so we try to evaluate, as an NFL staff would. And that involves evaluating character, certainly, potential. You're guessing on some things, you're predicting where they may end up. But, we trust our eyes and our evaluations, and we feel really good about these guys. We maybe are looking for different traits than other teams. And, I was fortunate to work for one of the great evaluators of all time, in Bill Walsh. And, Bill would always emphasize to us, don't tell me what he can't do, show me what he can do. And if he can do it once, then we can get him to do it all the time. And he would say, show me the traits that are going to make him a great San Francisco 49er. What are the character traits? What are the athletic traits? What are the personality traits that are going to make him a great 49er? And if you can't demonstrate that to me, then don't bring him to the table. Have a plan for him. Where do you see this? He used to say, where's this guy going to be 3 weeks into training camp, 3 games into the season, 3 years into his career? And so we try to use the same formula. It's a little bit harder when you're dealing with a 16, 17, 18-year-old than a 22-year-old, 23-year-old, but we try to apply the same thing.
Jim, you mentioned the infectious personality of a guy like Darnay. You didn't bring in any receivers. Do you anticipate maybe him having a role on the offense?
Potentially, yeah. We purposely, we tried to get a receiver, one guy that we pursued pretty hard. He decided to go elsewhere. We wish him luck. But that was not a position where we felt, it was imperative that we add numbers. And with the limited scholarships we had available, we had to make some tough choices. So we did not sign a running back, nor did we sign a receiver. Had a couple guys decided to come here, we would have gladly taken them, but they chose to go elsewhere. I think with Darnay, it's too early to say. I don't want Darnay to have a career where he never settles into a position and can excel. I think that would be a mistake. I also think it would be a mistake not to take a guy like Darnay who has the explosive skill set with the ball in his hands and not use it. So time will tell how much he has the ball in his hand from an offensive standpoint or return standpoint, but he will have it in his hands.
Coach, I know you don't like to compare, but if you're looking at your defensive line or defensive back classes here, is this probably maybe the best you've had since you've been here, would you say?
It's hard for me to compare because when I do, I'm talking about guys that are on our team already. I'll just say this, Tracy, I'm excited about these guys. I think when you look at Jalen Phillips and Odua, you've got 2 defensive ends with length and explosiveness and speed. And I know that Odua is a little bit under the radar, but at the Army game, in the practices, we got great reports from Brandon. I think that Martin Andrus is a guy that I just fell in love with immediately. I went down to LA High School and saw LA High School play Crenshaw. It was about 110 degrees on the field, and this guy never came off the field. He's a 6'3", 300-plus pounder that played both ways, and that was impressive to me. And he played hard, and I love his personality and his work ethic. And then Greg Rogers, you know, is one of the top-ranked defensive tackles in the country, and is going to give us great depth immediately. And for us, depth means you play. You know, we play a lot of defensive linemen. You have to. When I look at the guys we picked up in the secondary, obviously Darnay, you know, highly acclaimed. His reputation is well earned. You talk about Elijah Gates. I think, you know, he's one of the top corners in the country, and, you know, probably a little bit undersold. And then Jalen Shaw, to me, is a guy that I can't wait to watch him work on the field. You know, I went back last night and watched more of his tape, and it's just like, wow, you know, this could be one of those guys, you know. And then you look at Quentin Lake. How great to have, you know, Carnell Lake's son back here. This guy's 6'1", 185 pounds. You know, within a year he'll be a 200-pounder. You know, his dad, you know, obviously a great Bruin. This is a tremendous young man from modern day who's going to once again represent this university well. And then Mo Osling is, you know, a 49-plus foot triple jumper who's 6'1", you know, 175 pounds, and just has tremendous potential. So I don't know if it's the best, Tracy, but there's the 10 guys I like a lot right there, or 9 guys. I'm sorry, 9 guys.
Jim, with the two tight ends and the offensive line group, how do they sort of reflect what you'd like the offense to be under Jed?
Well, I'll let Jed talk about that when you guys talk to him. You know, our offense is going to be a Sunday system. It's going to be a system that's versatile, that utilizes multiple personnel groups and multiple formations, and we'll go at tempo sometimes and slow it down sometimes. I think if you turn on the Super Bowl and watch those two teams play on Sunday, you'd see what we would like to be offensively, a combination of Atlanta and New England. And, you know, we certainly feel like we have the quarterback that has the intelligence to be able to do those things. And for us, it's always just adding, you know, tremendous young men to our roster that can help us with our ultimate goal here, our initial goal of winning the Pac-12 championship.
Can I follow up on Jalen Shaw? When you said you really went back to the film and watched, what little I know of recruiting is sometimes it's difficult to measure a kid at one school versus another based on the level of talent they're playing. Playing at Centennial, he's seeing top talent. What did you see from him against these top schools?
I think he's very competitive. I think he's got quickness and speed, and I think that he's fearless. He loves collisions, and I like that in a corner. I like a guy that can go defend a pass and then come up and tackle a running back in space. He's got size. You know, he's 5'11", closing in on 190 pounds. You know, at this point in time, and he's getting bigger. So, you know, I don't want him to get too big, but he'll come here at, you know, probably 5'11", 190, 195, and he can run. It's interesting, you know, different positions you evaluate different ways. With a corner or a receiver, it's not always the level of competition that they're going against. You're looking at their skill set, their speed, their quickness, their ability to get in and out of a cut, break on a ball, catch a pass at its high point, you know, break up a pass, things like that. When you're evaluating, you know, more collision positions, offensive and defensive line, running back, tight end, those types of things, then the level of competition comes more into play.
You mentioned grad transfers. Do you have any commitments there yet, or?
You know, I don't believe I'm allowed to speak to that yet, but we have a great plan in place, and you know, it's something that we want to be able to do to you know, we've got a very, very young team. If you look at our roster, a lot of young players, and that's great. We're happy with it. They're young, talented players, but we'd like to be able to add, you know, a couple guys at key positions that can bring some veteran depth to our team.
How much impact did the new coaches, particularly Coach Fish, have on recruiting here at the end?
Well, he had tremendous impact on Stephon. He had a relationship with Stephon and his family, and obviously that gave us, you know, a great in there. We had talked to him, we were recruiting him, but we had not made the connection to that family that Jed had. You know, I think when our recruits came in here and they talked to Jed, and then they talked to Hank, and they realized the pedigree that those guys brought to the position, it excited them. And I think our players currently on the roster are very excited about those two guys. And then, of course, let's not forget Deshaun Foster. You know, we did not sign a running back, but I'll tell you what, as great as any signing today, the signing to Sean Foster ranks right up there at the top. Just to be able to bring back a great Bruin, a great person, a guy that went and played 8 years in the NFL, then came back to UCLA and earned his degree. This is what you want your players to be like, Sean Foster.
Did you meet with the players and do your evaluations? Do you know, is everybody coming back? Do you have a count who's not coming back?
I do. In general, I don't have specifics. It's ever changing, it's fluid,
So there will be some players leaving from the current line.
There'll be some players coming in for sure, and it's hard for me to say, but there's always attrition. There just always is, for a reason that you can never anticipate. And I think you have to plan a little bit for it. You have to anticipate it a little bit. You hope it doesn't happen. We want all these young men to stay here, play for UCLA, get their degree. But the reality of the situation is with every program is sometimes there is attrition.
Jim, any sort of bigger picture trends in recruiting you noticed this year, stuff that when you're at the coaches convention and you're talking to other guys, or just things you saw?
I think that the NCAA allowing us to text was a big thing. It opened up a lot of communication for us. When you direct message on Twitter, you get, how many characters you get on Twitter? 140 characters. But when you text, you can actually hold a conversation. And it's, I have young kids and kind of have a feel for their, that age group. And it's interesting, but they believe texting to be talking, and so you can text and they think you're talking. For us, for the older ones of us, like, Tracy here, we need voice to voice to consider it talking, but this younger generation considers texting talking, which was interesting.
What do you think about the proposed new signing period in December?
Well, I think that there's real positives to it, and then I think that, there could be some negatives. I think that it would hurt the networks, especially, some of the networks that cover the signing day, for 12 to 14 hours, because it's going to be watered down a little bit on, a day like today. But for us, I haven't evaluated it yet. When they make a decision, then we'll go with that decision. Right now, that's in someone else's hands, and I don't have anything to do with it at this point in time.
You guys have a new apparel deal that kicks in this summer. How big, or what was Under Armour's kind of received within the recruits?
Very, very well. We're an Adidas team, and we're proud that we're an Adidas team right now, and Adidas has done a tremendous job for us. But we will be switching, obviously, apparel companies, and there was no negative feedback. There was only positive feedback, and I think that Dan and our staff that made that decision did a tremendous job of understanding all the ramifications of this deal, and I think it's a real big plus for UCLA.
Along the same lines, that facility, a lot of kids told me that they liked it a lot. It seems like it's ahead of schedule, but how big is that, and is it ahead of schedule?
What's today, February 1st? I was told that on June 1st we would be moved in. So that is a little bit ahead of schedule. Now we have to, consider there may be some rain days, but they're doing a marvelous job over there. The guys that are working on that are ahead of schedule. Rip Shear has done a tremendous job of spearheading that project. When you guys hopefully at some point will get a chance to go through it, and it's beautiful. It's amazing. And it's, a lot of kids tell us that it was the top facility that they'd seen on the recruiting trip. So that's a real bonus for us going forward.
You did sign another quarterback, and you have to find a backup quarterback, considering what happened this past season. So how will that pan out in the spring ball as far as the competition is?
Well, we have 3 that are here now on scholarship, plus a couple of walk-on guys. And then we're bringing in Austin Burton. And so, we're really happy with Matt Lynch, and
Devin.
yeah, I hope Devon doesn't see that. You guys edit that out for me. I've got so many names going through my mind, but Devon, we're happy with both of those guys, and Jed's excited to work with those guys and see where they are. So we're confident between the 4 guys there that we'll have enough depth that we can survive and we can thrive if somebody goes down.
Are there more guys who are coming in for spring quarter?
There are, but Tracy, I don't know the names right now. I mean, I'd screw it up if I tried to tell you. I don't have it written down, and like I said, I've got so many names going through my mind right now, it's insane.
Speaking of quarterbacks, is Josh Rosen's recovery on track as far as you know?
As far as I know, he's on track, yes. He's doing very, very well. He's been very diligent about his rehab process. Our athletic trainers are doing a tremendous job with him, and, we expect him to make a full recovery.
Jim, when you kind of put a bow around this whole process, some kids you're recruiting to go to the next level, potentially. Some for the institution or the education and getting their degree. And some of it just might be the direction of the program or your new facility. What's in your heart on a recruiting day? What do you sell?
We try not to sell anything. We try to present. I don't want it to be a sell job. I think sometimes there's a negative connotation with that word, that maybe we're presenting something that's not actually true. So we just like to present all that UCLA has to offer. As we know, it's one of the top academic institutions in the entire world. It's the most applied to university in the world. It's incredibly competitive, and when you get a degree from UCLA, you can take it anywhere in the world and people respect it. So from an academic standpoint, that is an easy presentation to make. We talk about our alumni community and the support that they give us. And as everyone knows, we hired Roman Pfeiffer last year to be our Director of Player Development. And Roman's role is to take our student athletes and connect them with our alumni in the community so they can start building the network that's going to help them when they leave football, whether it's after 4 years at UCLA or 4 years at UCLA and 15 years in the NFL. So we present those opportunities to them. Here we are in LA where, just about every major corporation is represented, and in most of those corporations there's UCLA people at the highest levels. And then we present our football program to them, our staff, our culture, our expectations, our standards. Obviously this year was a little bit more difficult coming off a 4-8 year. We don't make any excuses. You mentioned earlier injuries, and I don't like to mention that. We were 4-8, and that's what it was. But we present opportunities for them, and we present the opportunity to go play at the Rose Bowl, and play in front of the 7th-ranked student body in the country that makes that trek out to the Rose Bowl every Saturday to support their fellow students. So I think when you present all of those things to a student athlete, prospective student athlete, and their parents, it's very appealing. When you tell a parent, your son, we have an 88% graduation success rate, which is the second highest in the Pac-12, and it's climbing. And like I said, the 43 guys on the academic honor roll, and all but one of the scholarship freshmen making the academic honor roll their first quarter. You tell a parent all those things, and hey, and you're going to have a UCLA degree. Hey, we need to get you to UCLA. And those are the kind of kids that we want, that value that degree, that value the connections to the community, that value the opportunity to represent this great institution.
Jim, how have you evolved as a recruiter in your time here at UCLA?
You guys know I didn't know anything about recruiting 5 years ago, and I'm sure there's people today that say I still don't. But just the points of emphasis, what we need to focus on as we recruit student athletes, not chasing stars, but chasing, players. Players that fit our mold, that will fit into our culture, that are accountable and trustworthy and tough, and have competitive greatness. And I've learned that it's imperative and sometimes unfortunate that you have to sometimes coddle to these young men. But I think more than anything, it's just being honest with them, presenting your true personality. It's like going back to, I don't ever want to sell them. I don't want to ever have a parent that's angry with me because we told them something was going to happen here at UCLA and it didn't happen. So we just try to be as honest as we can and as transparent as we can.
Last one, guys.
Okay.
Good? All right.